Well, it appears that I am live with an excellent connection. So today is well, it's a bit of a recap and then moving forward into another shot on episode 4. So, with that in mind, if you're watching, please, as I often request, identify yourself. Identify yourself. Okay, so the usual story with lengthy shots in Krita. Okay, so here's what we did in Blender. I did the smart thing. Yes, I broke it up into multiple shots. So, hey Ross, what's going on, brother? Hope things in New Zealand are, humming right along for you. So, I have, in fact, gone ahead and set up the episode 4 edit. I had kind of a temp edit in Blender, but I have to say at the end of the day, Vegas is much better for editing shows. If it's something tiny, Blender's fine, but and if I totally got used to it, got used to all the hotkeys and kind of different ways of working, then I probably would be fine with it. But for now, I'm going to stick with what I know. So the overall flow of the show is what you see here. Pretty fast paced. We're jumping right into it, kind of thing. So this little bit here is kind of interesting. So I think the first thing I'll do here is cover a couple little tricks and tips that got me through this shot. The biggest one here was that when Asher turns around, we have a candle flickering. And never one to do the same work twice. What I did was I simply stole the flickering from this shot. And so now that I've shown you that, I can kill this. Don't need that on there. And put it in this scene and then just used a transform mask, which this layer has been flattened, so the transform mask is gone now. But what I did was I just put in the transform mask so that the flickering happens where it needs to, because within this shot it actually changes 3 times. Well, I mean, I should say there's basically 3 cuts in the shot. Right? So there's your flicker. Worked pretty well. The little, I was going to say there's a little anomaly right there, but that was just a Krita thing. So anyway, if you're ever wondering how to do flickering flames, I guess we could get into that, although there was a live stream several weeks ago where I explained in detail how I did that. It's pretty simple, actually. The bottom line is, it turns out that at 8 frames per second, that's about the right speed that you want flickering to occur. So I just basically painted over the the candles and animated them and hoped for the best, and it turned out it looked good. So there's that. What else have we? Hey, Darren. You know what, Darren? This funny thing. I actually was on Discord yesterday, and I'm kind of poking around, and I'm going, I should check in with Darren. I wonder how Darren's doing. So what was occurring to me was, you like me were really hitting the live stream thing hard there for a couple of years, and then it seems like it's kind of petered out, but I don't know what you've been up to lately, so I'm just kind of curious. What exactly have you been up to lately? So you don't have to share it here on my live stream if you don't want to, but I just figured I'd throw that out there because I was just wondering, like, how you doing, buddy, kind of thing. So anyway, we'll keep moving along, and if anything comes up in the chat, we'll go there. So as far as this shot goes, there's not a lot more to say other than if people are looking for ways maybe to just easily punch up the production quality on any kind of animation, this is not a bad way to do it. Basically, I've got these 2 extra layers, which are obviously the opacity's turned down quite a bit, but this is basically frontal shadows, which I used a lot here, like on these guys. You can see the shadow in front of them, so it's kind of animated and stuff. Whereas in this one, I just basically used it to tone down his color because he just looks too bright. against the background, and I wanted to make it a little more mid-rangey to make room for some sort of reflected light from the candle. So then there's another layer called tint, and it's literally just, I took an airbrush and went with some orange. That's it. In overlay mode. So if I cranked it up, you'd see how really bombastic that can get in a hurry. So very simple, but it just makes everything seem a little warmer, makes the character sit in the mix a little better, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so that's pretty much it for the first little sequence of the show. So the cool thing is, for episode 4, we're just about ready to probably jump back to Blender and look at the script and think about what the next scene's going to be. So for all practical purposes, that means if anyone has any questions about questions about that, feel free to chime in. And do I want to save this? No, I'm not going to save that. I didn't change anything in there. So come back to Krita. So the Blender Krita combo seems to be working the best for me, as it often does. Always seems to. I sort of dipped my toes back in the Tahoma 2D pool the other day, and I'm going to stand by what I've said for a long time, which is that for the newbie that's looking for the best all-in-one animation tool with the most capability and the least learning curve, probably Tahoma 2D or OpenToons is where you want to be. If you're me, however, and you're dealing with several years of workflow where you've sort of been there, done that, for me, I guess we'll call it the buy or die umvirate of Blender Krita seems to be where I am most comfortable. So, and I can't remember what it was, but I got to tell you the truth. This is for sure a fact. I had gotten about 2/3 of the way through this whole sequence of 4 shots in Tahoma 2D, doing the ink and paint thing, blah, 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 blah. And I can't even remember what the issue was, but went back to the way I'm a little more used to doing things. And I did compare the renders from the 2 approaches, and it was night and day, no contest. Not that you couldn't get there with Tahoma, because you definitely could, but there was no difference. I think for animators that are just trying to get stuff done or create something, or basically feel how the tool allows them to express their creativity, as I say, I definitely could have gotten there with Tahoma. I would have had to take a little different approach on the ink than I did, but anyway, it's all neither here nor there at this point. So this shot is essentially complete. So before we go to the next shot, what I'm going to do is check the chat and then jump over to Reaper and kind of just give a recap of where we're at on the musical score for episode 3. And I mean, I guess I will tell you guys that there is a little bit of a business update. We got the numbers for second quarter, and it's not good. As I said, the show was just busting it for 2 quarters, and then it fell off the cliff. And it's a weird thing. I won't get to. I'm not in the mood today to get into like some sort of socio-political critique, but I will say that dealing with some of my commercial media clients and whatnot, I've noticed the same trend where things were really moving upward. And I hate to say this, but it is a fact of data, which is that once Trump got elected, and then worse once he got sworn in, I'm talking about small to medium-sized businesses kind of reporting the same thing, where everything's kind of tanked a bit. And I think the basic reason is there's enough uncertainty out there that people are just kind of shoring up and being really, really cautious about how they spend their money. I think that's what's going on. I don't really know, but... So I've not streamed for over a year and haven't made many videos over the past year. I've had a big change of circumstances, but hope to be back making videos soon. Okay. I hope your change of circumstances is not too egregious for your life. And we'll leave it at that for the moment. So let's jump over to Reaper. And there's not a ton to show here, frankly, but let me just grab this, get its attention. So where are we at? We are actually up to we're past 20 minutes. which is really good. So we've only got about 4 minutes to go. Basically, the last sequence of the show is all that's left. So if we're going to do sort of a bit of a recap, I guess we'd probably go back to maybe, oh no, it would be, probably here-ish. Yeah, when they get into groups. So let's just take a look. If anybody's got any, critique, has an opinion about the
I want
score,
soldiers stationed at every throughway.
Sir. Opinion about how it's all working overall at this point, feel free to say so. I'm always open to, when you're really, really close to a project, you do lose perspective. You definitely can lose perspective. And I can give you a perfect example of that, actually. Would be over here, this oil painting that I was working on. When I was painting it yesterday, so this is obviously a digital photo of the painting, but when I was painting it, I was feeling really good about the coral. It's like, you'd think it'd be all about the sharks, which obviously they don't have teeth yet, but it isn't for me. It's like the more of this stuff you do, the more you look to other things that sort of give you some satisfaction from doing it. And for me, it was actually trying to get the atmospheric perspective in the coral to look good, So to me, I'm looking at it and I'm going, well, this part looks better than this part for sure, but this doesn't look as good as I thought it did when I was close to it and actually doing it and seeing the sort of that texture and specular reflections coming out. I'm going, man, this is feeling really good. But it's another reason why also I've learned with all kinds of projects to spread them out over several days. Give yourself a lot of time to sort of digest what you did. Hang on, Ross. Thank you for that comment. Let me look what's going on with the audio situation. Volume control option. No, that's not what I want. Hang on. I'd be recording devices, and I'm looking at my microphone, going to its properties, and sure enough, it got bopped down again. It's probably because the other day did a Zoom call, and Zoom seems to really love changing my volume for me. So are we better now? This should be the normal. Yeah, this should be pretty much the normal volume situation. So back to Reaper. And let's just rock.
Runaway bride is still on the loose. Unbelievable.
All right. And I'm just going to enjoy watching this with you guys. Hope you enjoy it too.
Yeah, okay, right. It's going to be a busy day. So this is Gripson. Yes. How bad can it be? Hold it right there.
Famous last words, right?
Have any of you folks seen a girl who looks like this? How would I know? As you can see, in Gripson, our ladies must dress modestly. She's from Newsy, so she shouldn't be hard to spot.
Okay, cool.
See her,
Thanks,
let
man.
us know. Yes, of course. I had heard that Gripson is very religious, but I had no idea.
I was here when I was 12. It's changed a lot.
This is going to be tricky if we're going to find food.
If I
We're on
had a
screen?
head
Oh, thanks,
covering.
man.
You shouldn't call attention
Oh
to
my God!
yourself.
You know what's funny? That right there,
I
kid
agree.
you not. I
Deer
gotta
should
pause this
lay
and say
low.
this. That is a classic dyslexia moment right there, where I looked at OBS and I literally did the complete opposite of what I needed to do. Ugh, that's creepy, but yeah.
Lay
it's life.
low. Looks like it's up to us, Mel.
You know how to beg.
Although I prefer not to. Besides, those soldiers know Luca.
And they ordered him back into Newsy last night.
I have to
And
say
if they
that
found Tia's pendant, they will...
for sure there's places where the score feels good musically, but it's a little hot, a little too loud. I'm gonna I'm ignoring that
Ended.
for now.
They will know.
I'll be doing a complete mix, obviously, before I release this.
Ended. They will know that I lied to them. Mm-hmm. You can do it, Melchizedek. Me? If these people are so religious, maybe they know Asher, and I can score a few points on Asher's street cred.
The same Asher who has a price on his head and suspected of helping me escape?
I would keep your connection to Asher very much on the down low. That blasted Asher. Asher? If it wasn't for his meddling, we wouldn't be in this mess. Says Golik.
I'm gonna go ahead and turn that down.
Yeah, that's
a bit
right.
For this sequence.
Destiny is a funny thing.
Like, to me,
Tell me, young prince,
right about there
did
feels
you want
pretty
this
good.
marriage that came about in a matter of days?
Somewhere in there. Oh,
I know you didn't. If
yeah,
you
it's
weren't
about
dancing
4
about
to
in the
6
woods, you'd be
dB
back
down.
home dancing on the head of a pin. For those who benefit from your enslavement. Enslavement to a path you did not choose for yourself. It's my duty. A prince doesn't marry for love. Again, says Golik. Asher is a penniless monk who cares about the crown and community. Golik's always resented him. I guess you're right. In fact, Golik was grousing about Asher when they told me about the wedding. I was there, if you recall. Oh yeah, I kind of forgot about that. There's something very odd about this wedding arrangement.
So what I'm doing
I
right
can't
now
help
is I'm
feeling
just
that Golik
listening for
desperately
something that
wants this
flags
wedding
me
to
as
happen.
being kind of
Well,
wrong
let's
or
hope
obnoxious.
Gripson is
or
where
not feeling right.
Tianara's wanderings will end.
I'm gonna go ahead and put that back up to 0 dB.
Out of the way, kid. Wow, crazy busy today, huh? It's a zoo. I got no time for chit-chat, kid. Go in and order some food, or beat it. Well, it looks like you could use some help. And I could sort of use a job. You got any experience? I've been serving food my entire life. All right, kid. Go take care of table 7. Thank you, sir. I really appreciate it. Move it! Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, so there's definitely some things in here that are a little not quite all the way there.
Thank you, sir. I really appreciate it. Move it! Yes, sir. Yes, sir. What are you waiting for? Get moving! Table 7! Can I take your order? Finally. Now, I'm sure the staff is doing their best. Drinks to start.
See, about 5 dB down seems to be about right most of the time.
You look familiar, young man. Have we met before? No, sir. I'm just a Gripson boy doing Gripson things. Yep, I love this old tavern like a second home. Well, drinks to start. Today? Good
Okay,
day,
let me
Highness,
pull back and look at
Tobias.
this.
Don't-
This was tricky. I mean,
Today?
I guess that's okay.
Good day, Highness, Tobias. Don't be too hard on this one, He only just started today. Just started? Or waiting tables, that is. Aye, sirs. He's been cleaning toilets. Before today. But he washed his hands, of course.
I really like
You
this.
did wash your hands, right, kid? I'm sure our incursion into Gripson is quite a disruption. It's no trouble, Governor. Not with good help like young... what'd you say your name is, kid?
It's Monkey?
Got it. Don't know how we'd get along without old Monkey.
Perhaps he should stick to cleaning toilets.
Okay, so this music from here on out is new. I think most of it I did today.
How's it going?
Let's just say it's always good to have a backup plan.
And stay out! And don't ever come back!
Forget food. This is not working. Let's just get back to the boat and go to Nippur. Okay, let's do that. Wait, what?
Hey, what do you think you're doing? Get back here, you little rodent!
What is he doing? Well, don't take this the wrong way. Take what? What way? Well, it's not like we don't have great confidence in you, Melchizedek.
Right. Confidence.
But you could say that Monkey is our backup plan.
I think maybe most of the punctuated type stuff feels alright, but it feels
You could say that Monkey is our backup plan.
the clarinet feels a little hot through here.
But you could say that Monkey is our backup plan.
Yeah, that feels like way better. Crazy how a little, and see when you change the velocity of the notes, here's the thing, you're not just changing the volume. Hear how the timbre changes? So it's way bitier when the velocity on the notes is stronger. So usually I tweak using velocity, not volume.
But you could say that Monkey is our backup plan.
And I kind of felt like we needed a breather through here, so I just thought, you know, this feels pretty good without
Good point.
music.
And I thought I told you to get lost!
Yeah, I know. We were just leaving.
You could maybe punctuate that a little bit, obviously, but I
I'm
think for
kind of
now-
thinking we get out of here. Yep.
What about Monkey?
this part.
Good job,
Not too bad. I mean, I gotta say, this part right here, this little sound effect here, let's solo that, you'll see what I did. This is all me with my mouth. Okay, so I'm literally going that type of thing. And it worked because when I watched it, I forgot. You know, it didn't call attention to itself. So,
Good
call
point.
that a success, I guess.
To the boat.
Okay, so then that bumper music I
Well,
just
at least
stole
Monkey
from
found some snacks.
another,
Are you referring to
Scene.
the
and possibly another episode. That might have been from one of the other episodes, actually.
Are you referring to the walnuts or
So yeah, this is definitely going to need some help.
I admit, Tiana,
Including, of course, special effects. I mean, I should say sound effects. Once the sound effects are in there, it may turn out to be more complete and less empty, if you will, than it feels like right now. But okay, so for now, let's switch back to here. I'm just going to leave this as it is for now. Probably work on the music more tomorrow. And on my other screen, I'm looking at the script. So what we have is Asher saying,
"That's very kind, Jehoiakim. Your mother would be pleased. But Lekbar has a job to do, and I apparently am a danger to the throne."
and he gives Jehoiakim a wink. Okay, so I'm going to look at gonna stay on the other screen on this frame, so I sort of have the reference. And well, it does beg the question whether, geez, I am gonna actually check something here. I've done this a million times in the past, and sometimes it pays off. I'm literally gonna reuse this shot. And just for kicks and giggles, I think I'll put it in reverse just to see what happens. So this is completely just guessing. Jehoiakim's line of dialogue is, the charges are ridiculous, and we all know it, Asher. So there's the line. Charges are ridiculous, and we all know it, Asher. Okay, so if Jehoiakim had something more to say, but let's just say this works. Now, what I want to do here is get rid of this keyframe. Delete that, because I don't want to push the screen in here. That was fine in the establishing shot earlier, but now what I might want to do, however, is crop it in a bit. And center those guys up. Let's see how that feels. The charges are ridiculous, and everyone knows it, Asher. Let me check something. I don't understand why Golik. I think this could be very interesting. Look at this. Let's add a line of dialogue here. Let's put this guy in some jeopardy here real quick. So we've got a little split point there. What I'm going to do... Oh, wait. Okay, I did it in the wrong place. Sorry. It's here. Right there. I'm going to take this pause. Pull it out. And basically, I just saved myself a day of animation work. With the caveat that, well, does it really make the show as good or better? Or does it, is cheating in this way, is it a good thing or a bad thing? I tell you, I've never seen one single instance where anyone has flagged a repeating shot as being any kind of problem. So I'm pretty big on not repeating your work if you don't have to. Okay, so let me go back to the screen. I'm trying to pay attention to the chat, which it looks like nobody's really saying too much. So Jehoiakim's line is, the charges are ridiculous, and everyone knows it, Asher. I don't understand why Golik... See, right there... Okay, so now... And you know what? I'm going to leave that in there. That little... Okay, so what just happened here is that the clip looped, but what it did was it made it look like Jehoiakim was startled by something, which is exactly what would happen because the next line of dialogue is Golik. So if we add to the script... So I'm going to put in the script, let me just go ahead and make this visible for all of you. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a beat, and then I just don't understand why Golik... Okay, so now this is a bit of a choice on my part because for him to say this not only suggests I can't talk. Not only suggests that he's kind of maybe a decent guy, I guess, but also that the soldiers kind of know that Golik's a bit corrupt and find that somewhat problematic. So now I'm just hitting some hotkeys here that format my text for me. And this bit here is actually in the wrong place. So I'm going to put this there to sort of suggest that it's an interruption. And the line that I just deleted actually belongs here. And of course that is, no, it's not a, what is it? It would be 4, I guess. I'm trying to figure out what my hotkey is to change this into. exposition. So there it is. Okay, so cool. So I just made this little mod on the dialogue, and all of a sudden it works. So what I was able to do is get a whole shot. Okay, so he says, just don't understand why Golik... And then we hear Golik's voice. Excuse me, gentlemen. Okay. Perfect. Well, that's cool. Didn't really plan that, but there it is. Okay, so now what? Well, excuse us, gentlemen. So the guards comply. Jehoiakim is visibly startled by Golik's sudden appearance. The guards respectfully depart, leaving Asher and Golik alone. Okay. So we need some sort of transitional shot here that gets us from this to something real different. Let's play with it, shall we? Okay. We need to switch screens, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. We'll switch over to Blender. Okay. So... Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to play with this from the standpoint of assuming that... Let me restate that. It's always good to think about staging, not just from the standpoint of storytelling. Think of it this way, at least for me, as an animator, I have a very strong tendency to develop the storytelling kind of informed by sort of that Disney thing. You know, it's not just storytelling, but it's when I do a first pass, I tend to make the job quite a lot more complicated than it needs to be to tell the story well, and I tend to introduce a lot more animation than is strictly required. So for me, I've learned that there's a first step that is just sort of mapping the scene, but then there's a second step that's more cerebral where you say, well, okay, but are there other ways that are more economical to tell this story or convey whatever I'm conveying in this shot? When I do this, my experience has been that this approach will always result in a lot more work and a lot more animation. And in point of fact, it does not ever do a better job of telling the story. Now, somebody else, that may not be true, but for me, what I find is when I simplify and think about the economies of the storytelling, in addition to, you know, what I'm trying to convey in the story, I almost always come up with a better approach. So what you're seeing here is, of course, the first draft. This is the first shot at how do we want to do this. What I'm seeing is probably Asher would react as well to the surprise. So one thing I'm thinking here, kind of thinking out loud, Russ says, bring your own voice. The brother propose ideas and changes, approve them, and implement them all within seconds. Yeah, being your own boss. Definitely seeing some winkiness here with the stylus. Okay, before I go any further though, here's the thing. Let's go back to here. So what we see is we see him saying his line of dialogue, and he stops. So this is perfect. So Golik's voice was heard. So what it makes me wonder is there something in this sequence back here with Asher that would suffice? Okay, so let's just look at this for a minute. The answer is probably yes, but it would require me to go back to the Krita files and get rid of the lip sync, I would think. See, right there, you could use something like that. And you'd cut to a close-up of Asher, and there's Golik standing smugly in the background. Now, from a story... golly, I need to switch screens to really show this. Now, from a story continuity standpoint, this is a better choice to reuse this. And the reason is that it preserves continuity in the storytelling, in the edit. There's no reason to create another shot of Asher just for the fun of doing it, right? So what we would have is we would have this shot, which was the last thing we saw with Asher. And then we would go to maybe just this. Just that. Okay. How would we do that? I'm going to basically totally rescind this plan. This plan is not what we want to do. We do want to think economically. So I'm going to go back to this shot. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to convert this into the next shot. So, and I can always, well, okay, we do have a little bit of an issue here. I'm going to have to do some erasing because in this case the lip sync is baked into it. But that's okay. If I take off these tint layers and just paint out his mouth, I'll be good to go. So that's all I need. So how do we do that? Okay. So again, remember the underlying lesson here or principle is that even though I'm cheating, from a storytelling standpoint, it's always better to come back to the shot I was on before and then progress from there. Which is probably what's going to happen is you're going to get basically this. Boodunk. You're going to get that little bit right there. And then it'll cut to some smug look on like a close-up of Golik. So Golik's going to, in the new version of this shot, Golik will be standing here probably with his arms folded and his chin kind of high, looking a bit arrogant. Get it? Okay, so how do we do that? Well, there's a couple things we need to think about here. Number one would be that the background has a transform mask applied to it that if I delete the earlier frames, it's going to break the positioning of the background painting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flatten this group. I'm going to merge this group, I should say. Why? Well, because that takes all the animation of the background, which was basically just changing its size from cut to cut, and bakes it in. So now there's no problem to delete everything from here to here, I would say. So so I've grabbed these frames, and what we're going to do is remove keyframe and pull. That means do a ripple edit, take everything from here forward and move it to the start. Okay, boom, done. Okay, so now we have that. Okay. I like that frame. So right now I'm not going to worry about the timing or erroneous frames that don't contribute to the way I want to tell the story here. All I care about is finding the bit that I definitely want in this shot, and then I'll trim off from there. Hope that makes sense. Okay. I'm going to hit shift and move this a little bit forward. I'm basically taking this whole thing and separating it out so that I know that basically around here is my start point. So now before I go any further, let me save this. This is going to be saved as, this would be 0004 actually. So let's just call it 004. We'll create a folder as I always do, 004, go in there and then save this, 004. Now I'm safe, basically. There's no danger of accidentally overwriting the last shot. And so here, this probably should be changed right now. Just as long as I'm thinking about it, you might as well get it done, right? So there's that. And I'm just going to do this. I'll just put 0 to 1 on the frame range. So it's going to go ahead and render it. And what it just did there was it created the render folder in the subfolder 004, And so now I'm good to go whenever I'm ready to, just animate this thing. Okay, so what do we have? I kind of felt like maybe a little bit of a pause there would be appropriate. So I'm hitting shift and then dragging the frames, and then it basically ripple edits it. Save early, save often, as Darren has told me many times. Okay. Alright. And now this is this. The only thing that changes is the lip sync. So what I'm doing is I'm looking for where the change happens. There's the change. Okay. That's it. So we get rid of these. We don't need those frames in there. Don't worry about the mouth. Up, I took out one frame too few. Here's the mouth. Boom. Stop. Everything else, get rid of it. Control-Shift-X, that's my hotkey for deleting keyframes. It's a hotkey you would have to set in Krita if you want to use it. Just for the record, friends. Okay, so here we're going to go... well, actually, let's do this. Let's put these two back in. And for now, we will just remove keyframes and pull. So that just moves the tint back to here. And then what I need to do is the same thing here. Remove frame and pull. So I'm kind of working in reverse here. Again, ignore his mouth. Yeah. So it's all way too slow. That's all right. I'm going to just move these back. Again, shift if you want to ripple it. Okay. And all I'm doing here is giving myself, you want to give yourself like a half a second to get into the shot, right? So you got a little room on the editing, in the editing step. Okay, that's fine. Let's go here. And now what we're going to do is we're going to take the character, in case you're wondering how this might be done. Here's how. I'm going to take Asher and put him in a group, kind of basically temporarily. Then I'm going to add a layer above it and just stick in a keyframe. Alright, so just to make it easier for me to see what I'm doing, I'm going to turn the tint layers back off. So I really could start erasing his mouth here, and I'm just basically giving myself a lot of room to, like, hang on a second, I'm trying to think and talk at the same time. Yeah, I mean, honestly, we could just start there. Okay, so now it looks like Krita is set to... I was going to do an erase layer, but there's no point in that. I mean, it's going to take all of 1 minute to erase all of these mouth shapes, so we'll just do that. And I'm really thanking myself now for... Actually, you know what? That one could probably stay. For putting the tint in separate layers and not baking it in, because that would have been a lot bigger problem. Because once you have this type of stuff, there's no way you're going to sample the correct color. And if you erase something, it's going to, the color from here to here is going to be different, and it's going to stick out like a sore thumb. So, okay, everything, by the way, is happening still much slower than I prefer. So what I'm going to do is, now that I've got this, I'm going to merge this group. I tend to like to work flat. Once I know that I've got what I'm after from an animation standpoint, flatten it and keep moving forward, kind of thing. Okay? Okay, so again, everything's happening way, way too slowly, but that's okay. So I'm going to turn this, probably 12. Or maybe, let's do let's do 16. That's 2 seconds. So you're going to get Asher's reaction, and this should probably be 1 or 2 frames further this way. Hello. Just so we've got a little breathing room. Okay, so then this going to say remove frame and pull. So now what I'm doing is I'm building out the timing of it. Yep. So as long as this is repeating, like here, get rid of that. I'm hitting shift. I hope this works. It doesn't. Krita's still buggy this way. Okay, so the way it used to work in Krita is you would click here, and if you hit shift and then hit the right arrow, you would just build up a selection of frames. But unfortunately, what Krita's done pretty much ever since we've had version 5 is you hit the right arrow. You see, that time it worked. That's what's creepy and weird about it. That time it worked. So now if I go back one frame, okay, so what you just saw right there, that's how Krita used to work. Why it works sometimes and doesn't other times, I don't have a clue. So now what do we have? There you go. Okay, so now all we have to do is sample the mouth shape. Probably add another layer and just call it mouth. Let's just do that right now. So, seem to be in the zone. Yep, easy and effective, Ross, that's right. It's not appropriate for everything, let's be honest. There's many types of animation where that would be overkill, and you really want things to be more flat. For this show, it seems like when I punch up the color a little bit this way, it's a quick and easy way to add a little bit of production value. So anyway, what I'm doing here is I'm sampling this. And frankly, let's see, from here to here, here to here. I'm going to literally split the difference. I'm going to go here and here. I know it seems a little weird, but yeah, that's what I'm going to do. So now I'm just going to switch brushes so I can jump back to Conan and know that I've got the right brush size. Okay. That feels a little strong to me. So I'm going to make that color a little less aggressive. Okay, that's precisely what I meant not to do. Mainly because his mouth's a little too big compared to the other frames. So boom, boom, boom. Oh gosh. Okay, looks like that's the only mouth shape I needed. I'm just going to tone that down a little bit. It's only on the screen for one frame, so you're not going to really have a color issue here. Now, could this be better from the standpoint of, let me go into liquify mode for a moment. If this kind of maintained the earlier shape a little better, would that? Yes, that would play better. That's not quite as extreme. Okay, so now this can be merged down. So I'm going to hit Control E and just merge that into Asher. And we're almost done. Well, other than one little detail, which is we need to put Golik in the shot. Now, one thing that's worth considering, and I'm going to do it here just to see, I'm going to just add a transform mask to this layer, to this group I should say, so that if I want to, I could slightly reposition Asher to make the shot work better. Basically, and to be clear, I should do that. Put him over here just a little bit, and then that makes room for Golik to be in the shot. So, what is this? This is, I think, a whole bunch of nothing. Yep, so let's clean up our mess. I'm going to add a new layer up above here. Okay, so why did... Oh! Okay, that's interesting. The transform mask appears to have... Okay, just for people that are watching this, I want to tell you, probably what you're seeing right now is an anomaly. This is one of those kind of classic Krita things where certain operations, the playback buffers don't like refresh and refill. So I'm pretty sure this is not actually happening. This is a Krita buggy artifact. Unless the transform mask actually put an animation keyframe in there. If it did, that would be strange though, because if it did, first of all, there is no keyframe that shows here. And number two, if it had done that, the it would slowly crawl from one position to the other. So it's a little weird. Yeah, there's no keyframes. So what I'm saying, I know it's very strange and it's not something you really want to have to deal with, but I'm going to hit Control R and render this sequence out, and I would be willing to bet that when it plays back, it will not have that anomaly in the render. Okay, there's only one way to find out, and that is sit tight for half a second. I'm going to go to episode 4, shot 4. And why is the render folder? Huh, okay. I think I made a mistake here. Control R. Ah, shoot. 03 render 04. Okay, sorry guys. 004 slash. I have to actually look at this on the other screen. It's so tiny. Yep, that's correct. Okay, so I'm going to render this, and I think the folder is going to show up. I know you guys can't see this. Here's what I'm looking at. Oh God. Okay, so I'm just all right. We're just gonna call this a dyslexia moment here. Like everything about this is kind of wrong-ish at the moment. Totally wrong, and it's all because there's something about the path that's cobbled wrong, and I don't want to spend a bunch of time now grokking that out for no good reason. For render 004, that's not correct either. Like everything about this is wrong, but that's okay. It's quick to fix. So I'm going to grab all these, put them here where they belong, go in here, delete this folder. That doesn't belong. Here we're in 3. This doesn't belong. So that's gone. So now we're back on track. Okay, I'll have to check my paths later. But here's what I was saying. I was totally wrong. I was totally wrong. That is so strange. But there you go. That's Krita for you. So, what am I saying? I guess the concept here would be the following. What I think I'm learning here is that if you want to trust Krita with a transform mask, you should do what I normally do, which is put a keyframe on the first frame and adjust. So whatever change I've made is actually baked into the scene with an animation keyframe. Now, quite bizarrely, it's still doing that, and I don't know what to say. There's it's not something that's forgivable. It's a really, really egregious problem. And it looks like, okay, I'm going to say, let me stop everything. I think this is all my fault. I'm going to hit a bunch of undos here because I'm pretty sure that what happened was at some point, not too long ago, what I did was I probably moved him within the frame instead of just using the transform mask. So if that's hard to follow, trust me, believe me, it's hard for me to follow too. Let's do this over again. Add a transform mask. This time I'm going to make sure that it is in fact the transform mask layer that I've grabbed. And now, so I mean, this is another one of those where I probably can't blame this on Krita. Here we go. Okay, yep, that was totally my fault. Sorry guys. My bad. Okay, so now let's go here and let's add a layer, hit Control G and immediately put that in a group, and we'll call that group Golek. Okay, now what I'm going to do is bring the background just enough so I can see it, so I can see what's going on, and then we're going to put in a sketch of Golek. How are we doing on time? Got about 10 minutes here to keep rocking. So I'm going to hit the B key, switch to some kind of brush that's suitable for sketching. Yeah, that'll work. Okay, and I'm going to make this even softer. So any questions, by the way, at this point? I'm assuming there's probably not too much in the chat world going on. Okay, so all I want to do is just get the basic body language here. So his center of gravity, hand, arms folded, arms folded. Again, I'm going to take this, make it even softer. I just want to basically get the guy kind of blocked in there. Okay, so now I'm going to jump to... It's not like I don't know what Golik looks like or anything, but I do want to... I'm going to, on the other screen, what I am doing is actually switching to episode 3. Because what I'm doing is I'm going to pull up whatever was the most recent picture of Golik, because I know it seems ridiculous that I might blow the characterization, but trust me, I can do it. Jeez, does Golik, where does it... Ah, the only place Golik appears in this episode is here. That is actually the only appearance. Okay. Fine, fine, fine. Or as Professor Farnsworth would say, fine, fine. So now let's have some fun drawing the character. I'll be still going in and inking him properly. Okay, kind of made his mustache too thick. Yeah, that's pretty good. That's a pretty good Golik right there. That's pretty good Golik. Have a nice sour look on his face. Okay, jumping back, just checking the chat. Is Asher getting locked up? Absolutely. That's exactly what's going on. We didn't see, you know, in episode 3, we really didn't get a bead on what was going on with Asher exactly. And so in this episode, we're going to find out that, as feared, he indeed has been taken into custody. Why, you ask? Well, think of it like a lot of what's going on in our own socio-political sphere right now, where it'd be like if you take the most simplistic rendering of some leaders. You know, what does a leader do? One of the things a leader does kind of identifies what's wrong in the culture and needs fixing, and here's the solution. And in some scenarios, you know, if all you have is a hammer, then everything's a nail, right? So that would be like Trump with tariffs is a good example of that in terms of policy. If the only tool in your toolkit is basically a bully based approach to tariffs, and that's the only thing you can use to sort of deal with international trade and whatnot, then that's the tool you're going to pull out of your toolkit and use. So that sounds very pejorative, and from an opinion standpoint, I guess it is, because I think it's kind of stupid, but it is a tool, and sometimes it does work. So how would it work? I know this is a long-winded answer to the actual question. But the way it would work is you bully the other guy with an outrageous, opening position to the negotiation, in the hope that the utter outrageousness of it indeed is the thing that makes them reasonable, and then you actually wind up with a policy or a final decision that is actually kind of reasonable, right? So the outrageous part is kind of intended to be a starting point. Anyway, how does it tie into the show? Well, for Golik, there's a lot that kind of hinges on the idea that everything that's wrong is Asher's fault. Asher's like an immigrant, in America right now. Everything that's wrong, it's because of him, right? Well, that's not really true, but that is the position that Golik has taken, and so for him to keep working his plan does depend on him seeing it through. Golik knows better. He knows Asher's no threat to anybody. Never has been. But he detests Asher. Why? Well, because Asher has the king's ear. Asher does, as Tobias said in episode 3, Asher's a penniless monk who cares about the crown and the community. Golik, on the other hand, cares about Golik. Right? So that's basically the situation. And so, not to make anybody mad by picking on Donald Trump, but let's see, I want shift. Let's shrink that down. So I'm basically going to use liquefy to sort of dial this in a little bit, knowing that once it's dialed, I can ink it perfectly. Now, one thing we'll notice here, this is something, if you're a fledgling animator, it is something to notice, is that right now, when you draw a character, so if Maria's here, Maria is here! Okay, good. I'm glad you're here, Maria. I was just thinking about you. Okay, here's the thing you want to think about. When you have a character, one of the problems you're going to have over and over if you're a normal, typical person is your characters don't feel like they're standing on solid ground or like they're falling over all the time. And what you want to do is you want to ask yourself some really practical questions. Okay? What is the weight situation? Like, obviously the head is a fairly heavy body part. The arms are out front. He does have a bit of a belly, although I kind of failed to maybe make it as prominent as I should have. So I'm actually going to jump back into liquefy mode real quick and just say, yeah, this should probably be more like this. Almost like his arms are sort of resting on his belly kind of thing. So I'm going to pull his belly out. But here's the point I was going to get at here, is that if you draw a line straight down through your character, you want to ask yourself, okay, where is their center of gravity? Now, normally a person would want to keep their center of gravity under their head. Otherwise, they will fall over. That means that this entire part of his body is a little off. Okay? Like, he would be... This probably needs to be shifted back a bit. I'm not really getting it with the liquefy tool, so I'm going to just... So you'd want to see a bit of a shift back this way with his legs. I'm just looking at his costuming on the other screen. So let's turn this back off. And then the question, of course, becomes, does he kind of look like he's not falling over? If you wanted to do it even better, I'm just going to play with this for a minute. Yes? But anyway, I mean, so the point is, think about think about where their center of gravity is. And if you can't get it to feel right, just keep trying different things. Don't take something that's not working, which is kind of, honestly, to tell you the truth, is pretty much what I'm doing right now. Take something that's not working and just make little tiny microscopic changes thinking it's going to be right. It would be better to erase it and just, redraw it for, in most cases, I would say. Whoops, I guess I was already in erase mode. So I'm feeling like this is okay. I feel like that wants to be more straight, and the shift in the head and stuff probably helped. Or to put it another way, if his shoulders were really back, so you wanted a really, really sort of a powerful looking pose here like this, with the arms up really high, then the head would want to come more forward like this, right, to offset that weight problem. Hope that makes sense. Just think about it. Think about your character's center of gravity. Okay, this actually looks okay, so I'm going to keep going forward. So I'm going to add a new layer and take this and just turn it down, because all that is just a guide now. The background does not need to be in there at all. All good, busy, sad event. Oh, that's too bad. Sorry to hear that. Okay. Let's go to, B key. I'm thinking I'm going to just use the old classic pencil type. Wait a minute. Okay, that's interesting. Oh, this is the... Got it. I need to change my icons. This one is actually a shape drawing thingy dingy. This is the one that's a regular pencil. Okay, 6 pixels, probably okay. So now, fun with Golik. Mr. Sourpuss, right? How are we doing on time? We're getting close. It's getting close to time where I'm going to have to fly on out of here. Gonna have to fly. I believe it's time for me to fly. Aye. And everybody sings, time for me to fly. Zuko starts singing. That's funny. Zuko goes, this is like note for note what he did. I don't know if you guys can hear. He goes, wah. Good old Zuko. He's a very good bird. Okay. Can you guys hear that? He just went, wah, wah. That's cool, Zuko. He's become quite a good singer. Wah, wah. He seems to be performing for the YouTube audience. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to have to get out of here shortly, so see what I can do here with Golik's ink. N key. Yeah, that looks nice. I like it. That's nice. Now, it does seem like I probably botched this line a bit. Like I didn't give the guy quite enough forehead. Okay, and E key. You can faintly hear him, yeah. Okay. I thought maybe. I wasn't sure. Yeah, cool. Yeah, it's funny because, I mean, I kid you not, I taught him to do that. So what I did was, this is probably 3, 4 years ago or something. I pull out my guitar, play a D chord, and I just sang, wah, wah, and I basically sang notes that fit the chord. The thing was, not only did he learn to copy what I was singing, but the freakish thing about it is that it turns out African gray parrots have really good pitch, because I can play any chord and he will do the wah wah thing singing a note that is in tune with the chord. And when I change chords, he adjusts his pitch. He will find a note that works, which I find totally amazing. But that's animals for you, man. They know a lot more about what's going on around them than we give them credit for. You know, in terms of their ability to communicate and understand. That's my opinion. I think many animals, that's true. It's probably true with your cats. You know, your cats know that they are in a safe and happy home, kind of thing, you know. Okay, and I'm going to stop there. I'm going to stop there. This is coming along good, and frankly, what I call cheats, the shortcuts I've applied today, have allowed me to accomplish several seconds of show with, you know, pretty economically. Like those 2 cheat shots that I did amount to, once I get this Asher shot done, just about 8 seconds of show, which is pretty good. So anyway, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to call it a day. Got to move on to other things, save my work. And as you guys know, there will be more.